During my brief respite from work, I was going through a clip or two of Vampire Hunter D when I learned of the official trailer dropping. I had to fight every urge not to watch it until I was ready to make this video. The reason is that I wanted to give a fresh, honest reaction to the trailer. When I made my video giving my thoughts on the teaser months ago, I was expecting disagreement with my perspective, considering that I refused to outright sing the show's praises and took great care to point out why. As for Nocturne, I finally gave in and watched the trailer. Visually, it's flashy and good looking in most areas, giving us scenes and clips with almost little context, made mainly for YouTubers to pick apart, looking for clues and Easter eggs. Nothing wrong with that, as several other shows seem to have that going for it as well. Trailers are meant to entice and get the audience looking forward to the work in question. I am no expert on animation, so I am far from the best judge where the matter is concerned. The animation looks fine on a fluid front, I suppose, especially where the fight scenes are concerned, but visual spectacle alone isn't enough to warrant blind praise from me. We see a woman fighting a vampire in purple who could pass as a vampire Milli Vanilli cosplaying as Prince, and said woman is killed in front of a young Richter. Judging by this bit, the woman who was killed was Richter's mother. Vampire Milli Vanilli decides to let Richter live, promising that he will kill him when the time comes. Judging by the snippet alone, in all honesty, I am not fond of where they're going with Richter's character here. Granted, he's not my favorite Belmont personally, but even I have a better understanding of who Richter is supposed to be. Did they need to give him the angsty dead mom treatment? I'm going to bet that she's a strong single mom too, given the state of modern Western entertainment and how they love shoving the stuff in our faces. And while I originally had no ill against this archetype, I've grown to distrust Hollywood and their lot for not only overusing this trope, but also degrading the male heroes in order to elevate their artificial Mary Sues. What exactly was wrong with Richter's original story? Boring is not a valid argument as it boils down to personal preference. Same lot will probably say that Superman and Goku are boring character archetypes. Now granted, I will confess there are gaps that can be filled, but the tragic dead parent story is actually both lazy and oversaturated now and doesn't even match the brash, youthful, confident and heroic Richter from Rondo, or even the older, wiser Hunter that became a shadow of himself post-Symphony of the Night. Whether you see Richter in Rondo of Blood or the Dracula X Chronicles remake, does that look like someone suffering from dead mom syndrome? This actually reminds me of Victor Frankenstein, where they added a dead brother, which actually alters the entire motivation for why Dr. Frankenstein built the creature in the first place. If this is a prequel, it makes even less sense on this front. Then again, it's past time people actually stop pretending this is even Castlevania. I know I have. We then cut to a glimpse of Maria and what I assume is an original character. Because I heard that the show will put emphasis on the French Revolution months prior, I can expect original characters involved. We get a voiceover and a scene of people getting executed by the guillotine. We also get a glimpse of a female vampire killing someone. Based on the visual appearance alone, I can only speculate that the female vampire is Annette Renard, Richter's fiancée. We also get a quick shot of some rich folks implying that they are vampires, a glimpse of a fight between the two original characters. We get a glimpse of Maria using her powers and some other glimpses of various fight scenes. Richter killing vampires, magic users going Cypher 2.0. Snippets of Richter weeping and downtrodden. Without being too quick to judge this, I will only say that this may be built up to something important. I can only speculate. The trailer closes with an emotional Richter powering up, as well as a glimpse of the solar eclipse. From fanboys to normies, consumers and the general public, people are going to be hyped as expected. Me? I'm still not impressed. No, really, I am not impressed, and I don't say this simply to be contrarian. At this stage, this show has earned nothing from me that warrants excitement or anticipation. The problems I had with the last show extended far beyond just one writer being allowed to run completely unchecked. So what if he's gone? There's still Kevin Cold and the Deeds brothers. It doesn't help that the reputation of Netflix and Powerhouse Studios has made me very wary, and justifiably so. Disagreements are one thing, I take no issue with this. There are aspects with the Castlevania lore even I do not necessarily agree with if we are following Eager's take. That being said, he was trying to fill the gaps while doing his own take, as much of the original games had plenty of room to work with. And you want to know the difference between Koji Igarashi and Warren Ellis? The former actually acknowledged the original games while crafting the timeline to give Castlevania an overall saga. The latter rewrote the entire mythos because his ego was larger than Mount Fuji. My other videos have already touched on much of what I cannot stomach about the last show. Honestly, if you love the last show and are looking forward to this one, that's your business and yours alone. I'm not going to change your mind, nor am I interested in doing so. Nor will I stop criticizing Netflixvania and call it what it is, an overhyped mockery. Believe me, I am far from finished in driving a stake through the heart of this glorified spite fiction. But I will say this though, while watching Adrian Fahrenheit Tepesh's own take on the trailer, he brought a rather interesting theory to my attention in regards to the French Revolution and how it's tied to people coming back as vampires. Perhaps this event gives rise to Dracula coming back. But there's a problem. Nocturne is trying to be both a sequel and a reboot. Dear viewers, do you hear that loud ringing in my head? That's my meter going off right now. Now, I'm not against historical events being thrown into the games, but they work better as a backdrop as opposed to the historical revisionism I speculate the show will give us. It's Netflix. They're that predictable. Take Lament of Innocence for example. They mention the Crusades, but it's more of a backdrop to Leon's story and why he took measures to leave altogether. Unlike the historically inaccurate Catholic Church being present in Wallachia, the Ottoman Empire was at war with a real Dracula. They could have been incorporated into the story, but used as a backdrop for Trevor's story. Bloodlines even incorporates the Bram Stoker Dracula novel into the Eager timeline, where one of the protagonists, John Morris, is the son of Quincy Morris, and that the game's plot is set during the events of World War I. A neat idea would be to have Shaft Spectre be involved in the events by proxy of other original characters, ending with Richter being gradually possessed and resurrecting Dracula's castle. Speaking of which, where is he anyway? Shaft would have worked better as Richter's main antagonist as opposed to vampire Milli Vanilli. I also know of rumors of an elderly Juice Belmont being involved. If true, that may be a plus, as I had a theory in the lore that he completed Richter's training prior to Rondo of Blood. However, another viewer of mine brought some rumors to my attention, rumors I am advised to take with a massive grain of salt in regards to Nocturne, considering the sources. Since this was months ago, and having seen the trailer, there's still a chance one or two details of said rumors may still come to pass. As for everything else, it doesn't seem likely now. On the whole, this trailer has actually reminded me of another aspect I take issue with regarding both Netflixvania shows. It comes off as genuinely ashamed of its source material, using the name of Castlevania yet discards everything that made Castlevania unique. Doesn't help that calling it an alternative timeline this late comes off as both dishonest and disgustingly deceptive. And while I can only speak for the story, Lords of Shadow honored the themes of Castlevania far better than the show ever did or ever will. On its own merits, it appears to be more promising than the last show. Even my viewers have said as much. I, however, would not deem that an accomplishment. Now, at the time of putting this video together, I learned that the Haitian Revolution happened roughly in the same time period as the French Revolution. Another subject I will have to personally sit down and research on. Now, the woman who looks like Annette is apparently Elizabeth Bathory. Dear viewers, abandon all hope of Netflix ever adapting the Bloodlines arc. The vampire in purple is apparently all rocks. I think I prefer vampire Milli Vanilli cosplaying as Prince, I'd consider it an improvement. The girl in dreads is Annette, as in Annette Renard, Maria's older sister. Also, Annette can fight now, and so can Tara, aka Cypher 2.0.
Right.
There's the Netflix I know and despise. This alone deserves a separate video, as there's much more I want to say on this matter. Right now, I'll wager two things will happen here for certain. Richter's going to get the Gerald treatment at some point. It happened to Trevor. Maria's going to be an insufferable girl boss clowning on male characters. She's giving me that vibe just by the tone of her voice and dialogue in the trailer alone. The bio they release even validates my gut feeling. In fact, just for added measure, what are the odds that they will give Tara and Iris, assuming she's even in the show, the alphabet treatment? It's not like they will stop at Alucard being involved in
questionable sex scenes.
In closing, will I watch this when it releases? That will entirely depend, as I am in absolutely no hurry for the show's arrival. Should it come down to it, I can and will certainly attempt to offer a more level perspective, as opposed to the legions of brown-nosing for a show that's on its own merits mediocre entertainment at best. Until then, I'm going to go watch both Vampire Hunter D films back to back to remind me what a Castlevania adaptation is supposed to be like.